if you've just started earning an income, or even if you have been working for quite a while but you don't feel stable enough with your finances, this video is for you. If you spend long enough researching about personal finance, you will eventually encounter the concept of financial freedom. But how can you aim to be free when you're not even stable in your finances? It's like trying to climb Everest without the safety gear, or trying to build IKEA furniture without all of the components. And that's exactly what we are going to talk about today. How can you build financial stability in your 20s so you are better equipped to tackle harder challenges later on? I'm currently 27. Ever since I was 16, I've been learning everything that I could get my hands on to about investing and personal finance. And for the past 6 years, ever since I started earning an income, I've also been working towards building my financial freedom. But before I could get started with making any significant progress towards that, I also had to go through the journey of becoming financially stable, which I've managed to achieve it, and today I want to share with you how you can also do that. Let's first determine what is and what isn't financial stability. For example, a job is not financial stability, at least not on its own. It can be one of the cogs in the machine that you will use in order to build financial stability, but it cannot give it to you on its own. $1 million liquid will give you some form of stability, but even with that much money, some people will say that they are feeling concerned about their financial situation, especially if they have an extravagant lifestyle like only wearing designer clothes, flying private, or going on holiday every other week. The popular emergency fund that most people that are interested in personal finance know about is also not financial stability. Again, not on its own. And extremely important to mention with an accent on extreme is not something that you can build overnight. So don't rush into things and have patience when building your financial stability. So now that we know what it isn't, let's see what it actually is. From my personal experience achieving this, but also from what I saw in other people that are working towards the same goal or have already achieved it, financial stability has 4 main pillars. We're going to take a look at each one of those pillars in the order that you are supposed to achieve them, and each one will give you a boost of confidence whenever you manage to get past them, but the last one will have the biggest impact. The first pillar is awareness about your current financial situation. You cannot start to feel secure about your finances if they are a black box and you don't know what's happening inside. When it comes to knowing about your financial situation, the best tool that you can use is a budget. Whether you like it or not, every financial goal starts with a budget. What comes in, what goes out, and what stays to help build your financial future. Those are the 3 things that you need to care about when you're building a budget. Doesn't have to be more complicated than that. That's the foundational data that you need in order to be aware of your financials. But of course, if you want and you enjoy cracking numbers, you can make it as complex as you want it to be. Just having those numbers in front of you can already alleviate some of the anxiety that you can feel when you don't know what's happening, and you can see that your situation is not as bad as you thought it is. Besides awareness of your own situation, you will also have to be aware of 2 other financial aspects that will have a huge influence of how you perceive your finances. You need to know how money works, so it's no longer a topic that creates anxiety, and also you cannot be taken advantage of. A lot of people are scared about financials because it looks like such a complex topic, but in reality it's been made to look like that. This is not a conspiracy theory, but if you take a look at the financial sector, you can kind of notice a trend where they will use a lot of complex terms in order to explain things that are much simpler, only to gatekeep the information. So start learning about the economy and how it works, use it to your advantage, and you will slowly start to realize that your own finances will become much more stable. Just as important as the other topics that you need to be aware of, you also should know the reality of how wealthy people actually are. The most common problem that I hear people my age struggling with, and I've also had to deal with this, is feeling behind in life. Social media can create a false feeling of how much money people actually have, and it can inspire a fear of missing out amongst the people that are doing the right things to build their financial future. I have friends that will go on a 3-day vacation and then post about it for a month in order to seem like they've been there for weeks on end. There are even people that will go into debt in order to buy a luxury car just so they can brag about it, but they cannot even afford to put fuel in order to drive it. That is the illusion that social media can create, not reality, and you are definitely not behind in life compared to those people. Actually, you might even be better off than them because you don't have to waste your money in order to keep up with appearances, and in the long term that will only push you forward. Another example so you can understand the idea, I'm part of multiple investor groups in my country, and among all of them, it's mostly the same handful of people that are repeating. Meanwhile, on social media, everyone is a millionaire. Also, on the same topic of comparing yourself to other people and feeling behind in life, you should always keep in mind that not everyone has the same starting point. You're doing your best with the hand that you've been dealt, and that's also a topic that was hard for me to come to terms with. Second pillar is a baseline to fall onto, something that I've only started to stabilize recently, but I'm putting it in the second position because I should have done it way earlier. It was the missing piece of the puzzle for me, not the most important one, but the one that was missing. And I've put it off for so long because I wanted to take on more risk, but now I realize that I should have done this way earlier. This magic number is the smallest amount of money that you need in order to recover in case an opportunity fails. It's not an emergency fund because it shouldn't cover just expenses in case of an emergency. It should be enough money to allow you to recover, but also to provide you with enough time in order to build another opportunity from the ground up until it can become sustainable for you. For me, it's anywhere between 6 months to a year depending on how I feel the economy, and right now it's towards the 12-month mark because it feels highly unstable. Your baseline is not static, is dynamic, and you should update it depending on how your expenses will evolve, and also the amount that you have will go up and down depending on how you use it in order to recover. That said, after you start using your baseline, you should always strive to fill it back up after the incident settles down whenever you have the chance, because you never know when the next incident can occur. I've also put this in the second place because this pillar you can start working on after you start being aware of your financial situation, and then build it higher and higher as you work on the remaining 2 pillars. It's the perfect time where I should have also started working on building my baseline from the beginning, and if I were to do it all over again, I would do it in this way. The third pillar is adaptability, because you don't want to be a one-trick pony that cannot change if the opportunity is no longer there. We live in a fast-changing world and everything will be affected at one point or another, and you will also have to adapt if you want to stay relevant. For example, everyone is saying that you will always need salespeople, which is true, but the profession has changed over time. Especially in the past 5 years, it has become much more obvious than ever how important it is to have a generalist mindset and to leave being a specialist to AI models. The adaptability part is also the reason why I've said that there's one more aspect that you need to be aware of, and that is what are the biggest opportunities right now that will make you the most money so you can adapt and take advantage of them. For example, if you started to study machine learning from the first time that ChatGPT came out, maybe right now you could be one of those people that are getting 7-figure job offers. For me, it was easy to develop this pillar because I've always been told ever since I was little that I'm a jack of all trades, but this is not something that I had from the beginning. It's a skill that everyone can learn, but I was lucky enough to develop it just by living my life the way that I do, by constantly trying new things out, always challenging myself, and also embracing change at every opportunity. So far, I've been a professional athlete, a software developer, a solopreneur, an investor, an advisor, and right now, even a content creator, and I've always adapted to each new challenge. That is how I am by default, but those are also the things that you need to adopt yourself if you want to become someone that's able to adapt to anything. The last pillar that you need to develop in order to become financially stable in your 20s is confidence. More specifically, confidence that you can recover from anything that life will throw your way. Building from zero, especially financial goals, is hard and takes a lot of time, and during that period you will start to feel uncertain and you might even doubt yourself, and that's when you need confidence the most. It was the hardest pillar for me personally to develop because in order to learn that you can get back up, you have to allow yourself to fail, and as a perfectionist that was out of question. I've done it in the end and it was very challenging, but I knew that if I wanted to win with something very big, I would have to let go of smaller opportunities. Try things out, learn to fail, use your baseline to recover, build your confidence, and eventually you will strike it big with one of those opportunities. So those are the 4 pillars that I believe that everyone in their 20s should work on in order to build financial stability, and I consider them extremely important because working on them means preparing to ramp up for something even bigger down the line. You know the saying, the winner is decided before the battle has even started, so you need to prepare ahead of time no matter what goal you're working towards. Thank you for watching until the end. I hope this video will help you in your own journey, and if you're interested in financial education, business, or personal development, I invite you to subscribe for even more amazing content.